My side of the story. My wife and I are both young, married right at 19 and dated for a few years before that. I'm 24 and she's 25. When we met, we were both in other relationships, neither one particularly serious. We hit it off right off the bat and hung out all the time and had a more or less great time. The first problem we had was when she told me she was going to hang out with a friend, and I found out a week later from the friend she was supposed to have been hanging out with that they hadn't seen each other in ages. I confronted her and she told me she was actually hanging out with her ex. I dumped her and was crushed, feeling betrayed. She called me in hysterics the next morning saying how much she loved me, that his dad had just passed and he had no one. I chose to continue in a relationship with her throughout the rest of high school. After high school, we both moved to another state together to find better job prospects and basically be young and carefree. We now have 2 beautiful children together, a home and all you imagine when you think of a typical suburban life. I have a great job, and she stays at home with the kids. This past week or so she's been rather depressed, which is normal for her to go through occasionally. She was diagnosed with BPD 2 years ago and pretty much denied it was true. That her psychiatrist was crazy and it wasn't true. Well, last night, she told me out of the blue that the night we broke up, she was already at her ex's house and they had slept together and she's sorry and it was only a one-time thing. I'm lost now. I've spent the last 7 years thinking she had only ever had physical time with me. I had slept with a girl one time before we met and I was open about it. I keep imagining him having fun with her. How much better he was than me. How his body was better. He was a better guy all around. I don't know what to do now. Were the last 7 years a lie? How much was there really more? No way to tell. I don't think she has cheated on me since, although she is still friends with him on Facebook and I found his number hidden in a recipe book. When I confronted her, she said she put that in there years ago. The only reason I haven't left is because she openly told when she could have taken it to the grave with her. I would have never found out. Being states away does make it hard to cheat with him though. So, she may be faithful out of lack of opportunity for all I know. I told her I wanted to go to counseling and work things out, but she's like in shock or something. She's been walking around in a daze with a blank expression on her face and ignoring most of what I say. I said some pretty cruel stuff to her when she told me, so that's probably why. She definitely was still a virgin. I saw the proof, so to speak. I just feel like obviously this guy had something I didn't. And by BPD, I mean borderline. As soon as she was diagnosed, she stopped going and went about life like her diagnosis never happened. And both of our kids were born in our new state. The first came about a year after we moved here. And the second was only born in June. When you have kids as a woman, I believe they test you for STDs and such, correct? I donate blood fairly often, so if I had something, it should have come to light by now. I would love counseling, and we had talked about it before any of this came out. She can be very childish and selfish and is honestly incapable of surviving on her own. She has never held down a job and has trouble understanding many simple concepts. She has a hard time learning new info and is very good at manipulating me. I can see it coming sometimes, but I still can't stop it for some reason. I feel bad for her a lot. It was really random actually. I knew she'd been in a funk all week, so as soon as I got home, I told her how much I loved her, how great I thought she was, and how much I needed her. She's always convinced she isn't good enough for me. Then she started crying and said, "I need to tell you something." I'm guessing me being sweet made the guilt she's had for so long reach a boiling point and she had to say something. That's my speculation on the reason she told anyways. I guess it just bothers me that I leave her for hanging out with him behind my back. So she goes and hangs out with him. The crappy thing is she called me crying from his bathroom and told me how much she loved me and whatnot right after they did the deed. It upsets me that she waits for thousands of miles, 2 children, 1 marriage and a home to tell me. I probably wouldn't have changed a thing in my life, but I could have had all these years to heal. Her childhood is full of childhood trauma and ex-abuse, most pertaining to her mother and her mother's many boyfriends. Most of the things happened to her older sister. She doesn't remember anything but bits and pieces of what happened to her. Occasionally she has random flashbacks of being touched, and other gross things like that as a child. She shakes uncontrollably, cries, and screams at me until she realizes I'm not there to hurt her. She's been cashiering for the last month or so. She wanted to work, and I thought having a job would build up her confidence. Most nights she comes home in tears because many people said something incredibly hurtful to her. And she has a very hard time remembering job-related skills. After all these years, I'm confident all the bad things people are saying to and about her are just misinterpretations of things that were said that either didn't apply to her or were said in a different context than she thought. I could DNA them, I guess, but the timelines make sense that I'm the dad, and they have quite a few of my genetic traits. Like 2 of my son's toes are webbed a little in the same spot mine are. I actually didn't notice mine were until I saw his, and the pediatrician said it's a genetically passed on trait. I've tried telling her I forgive her, that I'm hurt and my trust is broken, but I'm willing to work hard and end up stronger together. We've faced many storms that have broken up young couples. We have always had each other though, and that's all we need. I was hurt and told her exactly how I felt and my thoughts. She has been in shock or something, not responding to questions other than affair-related ones. She just sits and stares blankly like she's in another place or something. Her sister is actually good. She has been in the armed forces for a few years now. She is in a stable relationship. Not married, but will be when her enlistment is over. All the stories I've heard have all been things that happened to her sister that she either witnessed or knew was happening but wasn't in the same room. I'm sure there is a lot I don't know. She isn't a fan of talking about this stuff. She can't remember a lot though. Sometimes she has recurring dream in which she can remember people touching her. The feeling of it happening and how she felt at the time. For some reason when she opens her eyes in the dreams, the people doing are people who weren't around at all when this stuff was going on, like her dad who protected her. Or me sometimes. Like her mind won't let her actually see who it was. Most of what I've read about BPD fits her to a T. I'm not sure what to do. I can't force her to go to therapy. The best I can do is educate myself on her disorder and learn the right way to respond to her manipulations. Marriage counseling would be nice. I just hope I can get her to go. She's very self-conscious about her BPD that she doesn't have, as far as finding his number in a recipe book. That was before I found this out by a few months. Our zucchini is overtaking us, so I was making zucchini bread with her and found it. She said she didn't even remember it was there. I also don't think she has or is planning to cheat again. I work your standard 9 to 5 and live close to home, so we spend my hour lunch together daily with the kids. I've snooped through her phone and Facebook and never found anything that would suggest she was actively participating in, nor seeking an affair. We live in a rather small town, so I worry that finding someone qualified to deal with BPD may be impossible. At least without several hours' drive. If it must be done though, we will do it. Believe me, I've tried to help her, but I just don't have the tools. How do we go about finding a good therapist, psychiatrist? The few she's seen were quacks with recommendations like try going to the farmer's market on Saturday to get out and make new friends, etc. I hope she can be helped. Seeing her in pain hurts me deeply too, which I suppose is how close relationships are supposed to be. Comments. Okay, let's see it. 1. Your wife cheated on you. 2. She is friends with him on FB. 3. She has his phone number and she hid it from you. First of all, your wife is lying. A good wife or good husband should never hide anything from their spouses. You should DNA your kids. If she loves you like you just said, then she should go and try to help herself. But most importantly, she should try to help you and your kids. Do you know what is borderline personality disorder? You keep telling us your wife is okay with that. Well, my friend, if you want to live with that, then good luck to you. She is risking your life and your kids' life. Even when she goes to the job, she is easily to manipulate from others, so she needs help ASAP. This is what you have to do. 1. Tell her to block all contacts with this guy or other guys you never knew. 2. Tell her to go and ask for some help ASAP. OP response. The infidelity I overreacted on was just the very small beginning of my hell of a weekend. I came home from work and found her still seeming off and distant, as I mentioned earlier. She couldn't go to bed, so I offered to get her a med. When I came back with it, she examined it closely and declared that what I was giving her what she wanted. That I was trying to ex her to get rid of her. And my stupid self didn't realize something was very wrong at that moment still. The next morning I made a big batch of scrambled eggs and gave her a bowl. She examined every piece of egg in her bowl to confirm I hadn't put anything in it and didn't eat anything. I was growing very concerned but didn't think professional intervention was necessary yet. I offered to take her out of town about an hour away where she loves to go because they have all kinds of shopping and family stuff to do. Her response was she knew what was in that town. I asked what was there and she told me the women's prison. She thought I was trying to lock her up to escape from her or something. A few hours later I suggested we get Panda Express for dinner because it's her favorite, and she still hadn't eaten anything all day, which is very out of character for her. We decided to pick up Panda and go over and visit her grandparents. They are very close with us and the only people we have since we moved here. Once we got to their house, she started crying and saying she had to go home and couldn't go inside because she was afraid. So, I took her home. Again she started bawling and saying the house was like hell due to flies inside and scratches on the wall. The flies weren't all that bad, and our wall definitely has no scratches. I immediately took her into the hospital. Once we arrived, they asked for a urine sample and told her not to touch it to herself because a clean sample was needed. After about 5 minutes, I went in to check on her in the bathroom and found her staring at her filled cup on the ground. I asked what she was doing and she said she didn't know what to do because it has to be clean, and the pee definitely wasn't clean. She was implying that they requested her to have clean-looking urine. I told her it was fine, took the cup and gave it to the doc. They sent a psychologist in to talk with her. He decided she was suffering from depression and to make a follow-up appointment with her PCP in 5 days. Even though I told him about the paranoia and things that didn't make sense, she also thought her mother had flown to Korea to kill her sister and was hysterically crying about it despite the fact that there was no feasible way she could have. On the way home, she says to take her back to the hospital because she might hurt herself at home. I comply and take her back. She wanted to go home once we got there. I asked if she would hurt herself if we did go home and she said maybe. I forced her to go in and they booked her into a mental group home sort of place. This all took place at around 1 a.m. I visited her today, and the psychiatrist there said she's very slowed down, has a hard time understanding simple tasks, and it was quite the chore convincing that if she signed some paperwork, I'd be able to go see her. She is still being observed, but he believes she in the middle of a psychotic break caused by bipolar disorder. Bipolar runs in her family. But I had never heard of manic bipolar causing sluggishness, confusion, and psychosis. But hey, what do I know? Visitation was rough to say the least. It's like she's checked out or something. She doesn't say much other than that she needs help. I tell her that's why she's here and she says yeah. There was about 20 seconds of sunshine where we thumb wrestled like we used to do when we were bored, and she seemed to be herself. Radiant smile, laughing, etc. Then mid-thumb wrestle match she just stopped using her fingers and got the same dull expression on her face like she was elsewhere. It broke my heart honestly. She thought by filling out their admission forms, she was signing away custody of our children. She asked the therapist if she got better and was being very good if she could live in our garage for a while, and if that works out if she could move into the home eventually. That really broke my heart. She thinks she's such a bad person that she shouldn't be allowed inside. She also indicated that she needed help quitting alcohol and that she had been promiscuous and had been sleeping with a lot of different guys, neither of which is true. The last time she was drunk was last year on her sister's birthday. And believe me, she can't hold her booze. We don't even have alcohol in our house. When I told her I was going home to get clothes and stuff for her, it was like the only word she heard was I was going. She hugged me tightly and was crying. It took 5 minutes to convince her I wasn't leaving her for good, and that I would be back soon. She is very much like a lost, sad little girl right now. So now I'm sitting home alone with the kids for the second night, trying hard to be a dad and mom, and convince my 3-year-old that mommy's at work. They are in bed now, but when I think of all that's taken place in the last 2 nights, I break down. I have no idea if the woman I love and married is coming back. I don't know what to tell my kid for much longer. The house is lonely and my bed feels empty. I miss her asking me for cuddles and goodnight kisses. I miss being able to touch her at all. I have no idea what to do next. I have daycare figured out this week for the kids so I can work, but grandparents might not be up for much more than that. As far as support, we only have her grandparents and there's only so much they can do because of their age. They did watch my kids today while I was working. I get the feeling I only have a few more days left before a more permanent solution is found. I went and visited her again today, and it went very well. She seemed to be mostly herself with the odd trailing sentence and drop into wherever she goes. But at least this time she spent more time being my wife than the stranger as I call her in my head. They had me on the impression when she first arrived that she should only be there for 3 days. Well, at least they impressed upon me that that was the average length of time anyhow. I asked about her being released tomorrow, but it didn't seem too promising. They said to call around noon and talk with the head psychiatrist for her opinion after she interviews my wife some more. But it did seem like we're looking at Wednesday the earliest. Nights are by far the worst. I sit in this house, surrounded by pictures of her and us in high school, at prom, goofy pictures we've taken over the years, etc. I can't help but stare and think how much better I could have been if I'd known where I'd be today. I guess you really shouldn't take good times for granted. Work helps me keep my mind off things. But the whole time I'm there, I think I should be doing something to support her. But there really is nothing. Also, I'm a wee bit crabby. My 3-year-old hasn't asked any questions about mommy yet. Although I'm dreading them. I'm praying she can come home tomorrow. I used to like a break from wife and kids for a day while I did my own thing. Now that she's there, all I want is her back home to laugh and joke and cook with me. I look back on the birth of our children and remember the biggest grin I've ever seen her have on her face. If she doesn't come all the way back through the psychosis, that's how I'm going to remember her. Story 2. I'm in the Navy and have been married for 5 years. We have a 4-year-old daughter. I want to divorce my wife because I'm not happy anymore, and I don't think I ever really was. We got married before I enlisted, and she was always controlling and abusive. And very volatile and vindictive. I ignored all that back then though because there were good times and to be honest, we got high together. But even then, when we got together, she started putting herself at odds with my family for one crazy reason or another like she does with everyone in her life. But the reasons are things that no one else seems to know about or things she exaggerated or flat out made up and believes those things to be the truth. I know it sounds like I'm being accusing of her already. But this really is her doing. She pushed me away with constant accusations, mental, verbal, and abuse, and basically making every attempt to try and sabotage my other relationships with friends and family. Unless they were somehow benefiting her. It was a good hookup for her to get meds. Or she needs something from them. But if they couldn't or wouldn't do what she wanted, it was duck them. They are a piece of crap. Blah blah. Then if I don't agree, well then I'm a piece of crap. I'm sure you can see where this pattern goes. It got to where basically me and her were just shut in and no one wants to be around us because every time she is involved in anything there is always an incident where she starts an argument, fight or in some form or another makes everyone, especially me, uncomfortable. Usually this would involve a nearly psychotic scene in public place or in front of a large group of people. Eventually these outbursts became more directed at me when it was just the two of us, and would eventually manifest into me being verbally and abused because she heard I ducked so-and-so, which I was totally devoted and faithful to her for the first nearly 4 years of marriage. So, I joined the Navy and we moved to VA, had a baby, and things were good. For a few months. Once we got to VA she really had me all to herself, and would have the outbursts and accuse me of things. Would make things up to try and get some kind of reverse confession out of me when I had done nothing wrong and there was nothing to confess. This went on for about 3 years. Being on the ship I was in and out of port a lot, then finally made a choice to try a special warfare program before going on deployment. I still had to get underway for about 4 months of the deployment though, while I'm away. She is spending every nickel I made, around $4,000 a month, not paying any bills, is impossible to get in touch with. Is dumping our daughter on whatever stranger would take her. Having a very intimate relationship with a local jerk. I read his Facebook love letters to her, until he went to jail anyway, so. My spec war request goes through and I come home. I keep to me that I know what I know and wait for her to have an outburst or drop one of her little passive-aggressive remarks or what she thinks is a subliminal message. I was just so glad to be home I just let it all go, and never brought it up, not for a while anyway. There were many outbursts while I was home for that 3 weeks before I had to go to training, including a very public incident at Gardens where she exclaimed that she had just given a good time to someone, which was hard to disbelieve since while we were off fighting a random guy came up to my brother and who was with my daughter and asked if he could have his coat from the back of the stroller. So I leave for training, fighting and accusations hurled at me till I nearly get on the plane, and they continue for months while I'm away. And keep in mind she still isn't paying any bills and spending every nickel I make. Finally I need some kind of money and decide to open a side account and give myself about $600 a month. $20 per day. For whatever I might need, a beer. Can of dip. Whatever. Well, she insists I'm a scumbag, I don't need any money. This goes on another couple months, till finally I couldn't take it. I opened a separate bank account and decided I was going to take $1,000 to $1,500 a month. And go ahead and do what I wanted. She clearly had no sympathy for my situation. And I guess I had none for hers, since I actually knew what hers was. I'm pretty sure a mother and 2-year-old can survive with $2,000 to $2,500 a month with no bills. Being away from her, the more I started to see who she was, and the less I felt obligated to her will. And the happier I became. Eventually I ended up meeting a girl and one thing led to another. I guess I figured if I was being punished for something, I might as well commit it. My training continued for another year. So did her accusations and outbursts and abuse. But I wasn't physically there for her to get it, except for the transition to Florida, where she X'd me up and still currently on probation for assault. So I was really starting to see how poisonous she was. My training continued for another year across several states, and I continued to live for me and got happier. I was achieving my goals and had peace of mind that I was providing for my family, or at least my daughter. Well, I finished my training, got the dream assignment, and brought her and my daughter here so we could be together as a family again, both of our mistakes forgotten, clean slate. She agreed, but that wasn't what happened. Since her arrival it's been like clockwork. Her outburst, verbal abuse. She won't hit me anymore because she knows I'll call the cops, interfering with my job, controlling our money. All I buy is dip, pay my car payment, insurance and credit card bills. She burns through everything else. Now she is lashing out at our daughter. having wild screaming fits. If you get out of this ducking bed again, I'll X you. She screamed that in the face of a crying 4-year-old. But the thing is, the after she says and does this stuff, she acts like it didn't happen. And she has always done that, and for years I went along with it, but I can't anymore. I'm miserable. I'm a different person. I really see how toxic and what a bad person she is now. I know what I need to do. I guess I'm trying to do it with the least amount of damage to me and my daughter. Any ideas? I have been to the chaplain, and he sees what is going on, and we tried going to a counselor through Fleet Family Support. But once the woman heard that I had been with another woman, that was the first thing out of my wife's mouth. She basically stopped listening to me, which I know what I have done, but that honestly is not why she is the way she is. She has always been this way. She got into it with me again this weekend, and she always tries to belittle me or take me down a peg, but my achievements are too vast for her to tarnish. She tries to tell me I'm not a man because I didn't make it through the dive prep for EOD but made it through dive school, went on to airborne, and I'm at a tier 1 command now. She on the other hand is an out-of-work hairdresser with a handful of credits from a community college. I know I'm going to have to divorce her. I'm trying to find time to consult with an attorney. I don't want her to know though until I have actually filled out the paperwork. I know she'll take it out on my daughter and start filling her head with crap. She says things to her like I have another family in Chicago. Untrue, and I don't love her or her mother anymore. That kind of suck, and she yells at her. And I try to be the calm one, and she is like, you need to back me up. And I just talk to my daughter calmly, because as a 3-year-old, having 2 adults in your face screaming would be more than a little scary, don't you think? I did have relations with another woman. Is this going to be an issue for me when it comes to my career, or getting custody? Not the first time I've heard BPD before. That is definitely one of her issues, and she is all about manipulation. When we saw the Fleet family counselor, she manipulated that woman in all of 10 seconds, and I was already done. I'm getting the papers together now for a D. It's time, but she thinks everything is all good now, which is crazy. She has these episodes of what can only be described as insanity, where she is ripping into me and now the baby. Then it's like she has forgotten the entire episode and acts like it never happened. Meanwhile, I'm still in miserable shock because of the things that were just said. And she actually asks me what's wrong. Are you okay? You seem miserable. I guess she is thinking or expecting me to just forget it too. And I'm acting like I have and going through the motions while I get my ducks in a row. Is that wrong? If I don't go along like everything is fine, it will be hell for me and the baby. But divorce take a while. Is it wrong of me to tell her I still love her, etc.? While I'm actually putting together a D package. I've started putting together my D package, but in the meantime, she has gone back to acting like everything is great. And I'm going along with it. It's almost got me rethinking getting a D. But then I realize this is what she does every time, and it's only a matter of time. I can almost set my watch to it, until she blows up again. Which I'm waiting for so I can get it recorded this time. After the last time, I wonder if she is suspecting that I'm awaiting another incident and am planning to leave her. Or am I being the caregiver or sucker actually and playing into her game? Well, it's been almost 2 weeks since her last eruption, which means I've got about another week. Is it wrong that I'm acting happy and all when I'm actually filling out D papers? I was thinking about that last night, almost feeling a little guilty. Then I saw on her Facebook what looks to be someone she was sleeping with while I was away, trying to initiate some kind of physical message thing. There was very clearly something going on between them. Which doesn't bother me. I'm on my way out the door anyway. What bothers me is that she would viciously accuse and attack me for things that are barely circumstantial. Meanwhile, she has had message exchanges with this dude, who by the way is another piece of crap. Can't wait to get away from her. I took screenshots of their conversation and sent them to my phone, which I think I may have forgotten to delete the sent message from her phone. So that will be fun later. I would love to take advantage. I have been diving there a few times before she arrived on island, so I tried to teach her to dive. I'm a Navy diver, so we could share the fun, but she has no patience for anything. I couldn't even get her in the water without her freaking out. She couldn't even get the mask on before ripping it off her head and storming out of the weight. Meanwhile, I'm in the water with our daughter, and she is screaming from the shore about I'm a jerk, blah blah. And she'll do it herself or whatever. Then tried to come back in and ended up just screaming and making a scene like she always does, which is why we can't ever go anywhere and do anything, because she'll make a scene, or get into a screaming match with a stranger over a parking spot, or something that a normal person would find extremely trivial and just ignore it and go on with their lives. And she does it all the time, for as long as I can remember. Even if I'm not there, I'll get a call from her and the first thing she says is it wasn't my fault and she doesn't need to say anymore because I've heard the story 100 times. I'm going to need to expedite this process. I feel ducked up about it because of the holidays. but keeping up my happiness is getting harder, and I don't think I'm doing a very good job. We haven't been intimate in a while. Because she says these ugly things and that stuff is sticking with me. Then right around when I feel like I could come around and be intimate, she says something that is totally ugly, or has a tantrum and throws something. So through this vicious cycle it has been like around 3 weeks, maybe a month since we've been intimate. And I'm getting less and less motivated to try and keep the act up, or try at all for that matter. I'm getting ready to go ahead with the divorce, but I need an approved family care plan. The only hitch is I have no family on the island who can take care of my daughter when I have to go on a trip or deploy. Without it, there is a chance I could be separated in the interest of my daughter. What can I do? What would be an approvable family plan? All my immediate family lives in New Jersey. What do you guys think about these BPD stories, and is there a common theme here? Comment down below, sub and bell.